Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bracy Sports Media. My name is Aaron Bracy, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Dan Loney. Dan is the host of Wharton Business Daily, which can be heard at 10 a.m. on Sirius XM channel 132. Dan also has broadcast more than 2,000 professional baseball games on the radio and more than 500 on television. Dan, I'm so happy to have you on Bracy Sports Media today.
Aaron, it is long overdue that we get a chance to talk about sports. You and I go a long way back, and it's great to see you again.
We sure do. If you like our podcast, you can download them wherever you get your podcast at Bracy Sports Media. You can also watch this on our YouTube channel, Bracy Sports Media, and find the story with this interview on bracysportsmedia.com. All right, Dan, I'm really excited to have you on today because you know a ton, obviously, about baseball and about business. And we've been talking probably too much about baseball and business, but I really want to have your insight. What happened the last 3 months with these negotiations, and why were the owners and players unable to come to an agreement?
Well, I think, Aaron, the biggest thing is that they don't have the trust in each other that the other sports seemingly have figured out. From a revenue generation standpoint, baseball obviously does very well. They get, billion-dollar contracts in terms of their content. But there is just a flat-out belief, and it's a little bit historical within the game of baseball, that the owners don't trust the players and the players don't trust the owners. And then, obviously, I think if you throw in the fact that you have the coronavirus as part of this, you're throwing in a very unique dynamic to all of this. So, Am I surprised that it took this long? Yeah, I probably am. I'm a little disappointed because I'm like a lot of people was hoping for at least half a season. That being said, I think we're now at a point where we have to make the best of a bad situation, have 60 games, have it basically be like a sprint instead of a marathon, and we see who does well in the playoffs.
Well, let's talk about that. So the season is scheduled to start around July 24th. There are going to be 60 games, 100 less than normal, and just totally different from baseball. So just from a baseball standpoint, pure baseball standpoint, what impact do you think this is going to have, having only 60 games? How do you think the season is going to look as what we're used to seeing, 162-game season?
Well, and I think you also have to throw in the fact that the National League will have the DH as well.
Right.
And that's going to be a unique dynamic for their league. I just think you're going to see managers that are more willing to pull pitchers early because of that, because you probably will have expanded rosters at the outset. I think you're going to see maybe more aggressive managers that, may be willing to make a move tactically in the fifth inning of a game that maybe they wouldn't make. They might wait till like the seventh or eighth inning to make that a similar type of move. I just think it's going to be very unique to see how this all plays out. The old mindset of just kind of playing the game out till the seventh or eighth inning and then kind of adjusting, it just won't work right now.
Dan Loney, longtime baseball broadcaster and host of Sirius XM, Wharton Business Daily on Sirius XM channel 132, joining us. Dan, there's a lot of talk about the fans, and we're still a little bit unsure whether fans are going to come back. Some owners are saying that they are going to have fans, like in Houston, possibly Texas, Chicago. Many owners haven't spoken, but let's assume that there are not fans in the stands. From a player standpoint and a business standpoint, how do you think that is going to affect the game?
Well, I'll start with the player standpoint, and I'm also a big soccer guy. Right. And so I've been watching the matches from the German Bundesliga and also the English Premier League. And the one thing you're seeing is that there are more games that are being won by the road team in those early games back than there have been the home team. And I think part of that, it's being discussed, is that if you don't have the home crowd, you actually do lose something. So I don't know if that's going to play out in terms of baseball, but it certainly seems like it's had an impact in soccer, and we'll see how it plays out, in other sports as well. On the business side, you really have to have the owner's mindset of really falling back to the revenue they're getting from TV, because obviously they're not going to get parking, they're not going to get concessions, they're not getting the ticket revenue. So they really have to focus on maximizing the TV revenue. And to a degree, where we are right now with content being king, if you're a sports league, you want to maximize your revenue on the TV side, on the content side to begin with.
Right.
And so I think that's just going to lay the groundwork for even more production of baseball content that's going to be monetized down the road.
Dan, how do you think the negotiations, or sort of the lack of negotiations, I guess you may say, how do you think that's going to affect fans? And do you think fans' appetite for baseball is going to be diminished, or do you feel like once baseball returns, this will kind of be in the rearview mirror for everyone?
I think younger generations are going to kind of put it in the rearview mirror. I am, as you mentioned, I did baseball for 13 years, broadcasting in the minors, more than 2,000 games. And I was one of those kids growing up that I listened to games on my old AM radio from not only Philadelphia, but St. Louis and Detroit, those big, powerful 50,000 watt stations all the time. So I'm looking forward to baseball being back. But I also know that there are a lot of older people that still have a bad taste in their mouth from 1994. And they just see, even though it's been such a long period of time, they see this as just another way to say, you know what, look at this relationship. Again, it's just, it's crap to a level, and it's just continuing to show why other sports leagues are better than baseball right now.
And speaking of the relationships, the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, expires after the 2021 season. And I guess there were some that were saying the players perhaps, and the owners, did not want to give in during this negotiation because they were afraid that it could impact 2021. I guess the first part of my question would be, do you agree with that sentiment? And then the second part would be, how much of an effect, negatively or positively, will what happened this year happen? How much of an effect will it have on 2021?
I do believe it will. I am firmly in belief right now, and obviously things can change over the next 18 months, but I am firmly in belief that we'll have a work stoppage before the 2022 season. And the reason why is that just the taste in the mouth of the Players Association right now is not good. Now, certainly Tony Clark is a very smart individual. He has a history in where we watch baseball in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah, I know you. We go way back with Tony.
Yeah, and so he will be out for the best deal he can get for the players. But right now, I think the way everything played out, and kind of the way the owners tried to, exert their influence, the chances that we have a work stoppage in 2022 went up significantly in the last couple of months.
Wow. That's not surprising to hear, but sad to hear for baseball fans like us. Dan Loney, longtime baseball broadcaster and host of Wharton Business Daily on Sirius XM 132, joining us on Bracy Sports Media. All right, Dan, you broadcast more than 2,000 games on the radio and 500 on TV, and most of them were in Trenton, the Trenton Thunder. And minor league baseball, really, we've talked mostly about Major League Baseball, both you and I, and also nationally. But minor league baseball seems like, to me, to be the biggest, in some ways, loser here. We don't know if there's going to be a season. Let's start there. Do you think there's going to be a minor league season? Is there any way they could pull off a season?
No, I don't think there's any way. And at this point, I don't think baseball owners want to have a minor league season at this point. I think you have too much fluctuation in terms of the restrictions in place from state to state. And, you think about the various leagues that are out there. I was in the South Atlantic League in Charleston, West Virginia for 6 years. That's a league that encompasses West Virginia, Maryland, Georgia, the Carolinas, so there's so many different dynamics at play in what you can and can't do. I just don't think that it's possible. Then you throw in the fact that you did have several teams basically cut players right off the bat. Right. They're really trying to keep their numbers low this year so that maybe they can have a season next year. And then becomes the bigger question of this report out there that Major League Baseball is looking to cut possibly up to 40 teams. They want to pare back their expenses. And I understand it's a business, but I'm so frustrated by this on a couple of fronts. One, it does cut away the opportunity for some players that want to be in professional baseball. But two, this takes away entertainment value from those 40 cities for anywhere between 35 and 70 nights, depending on whether it's a rookie league team or if it's a full season team. Those are important nights for local revenue, but also for the fans in those markets that really love to go out to the baseball. You're taking that away from them. And then the third thing, you're taking away potential future job opportunities for the youth of America that are coming out of college and looking to start a career in professional baseball. A lot of them go to the minor leagues. I've gone to the baseball winter meetings so many years, and the job fair at the baseball winter meetings is huge. There are more than 1,000 individuals that are there looking for jobs every year. Right. So this is sickening to me on a lot of fronts. I'm really disappointed in how this is all seemingly headed for.
I'm a lover of minor league baseball. I travel around to different parks, and it's something I love to do. I had planned a trip to Michigan this year. I was going to see a whole bunch of parks. So I'm definitely a lover of minor league baseball, and you've broadcast a lot of games. For you, just the game itself, what do you really like about minor league baseball? And if you could compare it to Major League Baseball, not knocking Major League Baseball, but in comparison to Major League Baseball, what do you really like about minor league baseball?
Well, I think the easiest way to explain that is one is more corporate than the other. Right. Even though they're both professional baseball, when you make the major league level, it is more of a corporate entity. When you're in the minor leagues, it is obviously the players are striving for a goal to make the major leagues, but the people that work in the front offices, they're doing it because they love the game and they want to have a good presentation, of events. That's why if you go to a minor league game, you see all the different promotions, that occur in between innings. Why do you think Major League Baseball has started to do those similar things? They've taken them from the minor leagues because the minor league people are so creative. So, I just think the flavor of minor league baseball is something that's great for America. It's obviously a great opportunity for players coming out of high school or college to be able to try and live their dream. And again, it's something that unfortunately to me, I think is soured the game a little bit.
Right. Let's put aside for a second the 40 or so teams that MLB is trying to cut, the minor league teams, to reduce costs. And let's just look at minor league in general, the surviving teams or hopefully surviving teams. They're going to lose a year of business. The fans, their customers are going to be away from minor league baseball, from the venues and such. From a business standpoint, is that something from which a minor league team can recover in 2021?
They can if they have a full season. Now, I mean, when you say recover, I don't think they're ever going to be able to recover that lost revenue. I just don't think there's a way, because you're talking about the same scenario in terms of numbers of games and numbers of people you can put in the stands. And, obviously a crowd in April in the Northeast is going to be smaller no matter what year, no matter what situation, than it would be, say, in June, July, or August. You're just not going to be able to pull that back. I'm sure a lot of minor league teams have had to cut salary and cut staff, over the last few months. Will they be able to pick up in 2021? Yeah, they will be, because Major League Baseball will provide that roster of players for those teams that are still existing. The agreement between Major League and minor league baseball is still going to be relatively the same in terms of costs that the owners of those teams pick up in comparison to Major League Baseball. And by the way, here's the one thing that a lot of people, I think, forget, is that the owner of a minor league baseball team is responsible for the stadium and the presentation. He's not responsible for the players, okay? The general manager of a minor league team is a business guy. He's not a general manager in terms of he's looking for talent. There's a dynamic there that I think people sometimes don't pick up on, in that difference between Major League Baseball and minor league baseball.
Well, the biggest time they do pick up on is that stretch run in September when the minor league team is trying to make a run and the major league team gets those September 1st call-ups and just depletes their roster. We've seen that. Dan Loney, Wharton, he hosts Wharton Business Daily on Sirius XM Channel 132 and also has broadcast more than 2,600 baseball games on the radio and TV. Dan, so looking at minor league baseball, there still needs to be some type of venue this year for players who are going to be on, I guess, what's known as the taxi squad, I guess the expanded rosters. And there was, I guess, a story that came out this week where the minor league team in Nashville, whether there's a minor league season or not, is thinking of going independent and hopefully kind of bringing in those minor league players that won't have a place to play and just sort of having some type of independent league. And in Nashville, they're hoping to have fans and the sort. And there are some independent leagues, obviously we know the Atlantic League and there are many others, but do you think independent leagues in this year and then maybe even going forward, do you think that could be more prominent with Major League Baseball trying to distance themselves in some ways from minor league?
Well, I think it's interesting that Major League Baseball has tried out a few things in independent ball in the last couple of years. The idea of a pitch clock, that's something that they originally started there. The idea of automated umpiring is something that they tried there. I think it's unique to note those things in how Major League Baseball is trying to work with independent ball, more so right out of the gate, and then maybe filtering that stuff back into minor league baseball. I understand the concept of independent ball. I understand that it's a great opportunity for players who get released by teams to have a chance to keep going and maybe see if they can get re-signed. I'm not obviously as big a fan of it because I've been through the world of minor league baseball and I know there's a difference to it. I don't wish them any ill will, but I don't necessarily know if the value is going to be there longer term for, say, independent baseball, adding in some of these minor league teams, that may get cut, or the option that you talked about with Nashville.
So last question on minor league baseball, and then I want to turn our attention to some other sports, is if they could give you a crystal ball, what do you see happening going forward with minor league baseball? Are we going to see a thriving industry as we've seen in the past? Is it going to be some type of watered down version, or is it going to go completely dark? If you had to predict.
I think it's dark for this year. I think it recovers next year. I think the nice thing about minor league baseball is that because of the nature of, the game and where it's played in smaller towns in many places, I think the fans will bring it back, because I think a lot of fans will differentiate what's going on at the major league level to what they know is minor league baseball. But yeah, I would think that, rookie baseball, in a lot of portions of the country, that first level, I think that's pretty much going to be done. I don't think you're going to see it. And, for places like Billings, Montana, which has had a rookie ball team forever, and it's been an affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds, and it is just an unbelievable experience, that's going to be a big problem.
I was thinking about Williamsport, the Crosscutters, which is just an amazing place to visit if you've never been there.
Yeah.
Dan Loney, host of Wharton Business Daily on Sirius XM 132. You can catch it at 10 a.m. every day. Dan's also a longtime baseball broadcaster and big sports fan, soccer and other sports. Dan, let's turn our attention to some other sports, because one sport that is really kind of up in the air, which is a huge moneymaker, is college football. College football drives the bus for so many college sports, and obviously there's a question as to whether the sport can occur this year. I guess let's start there. Just from a playing standpoint, do you think there is going to be college football this year?
I think there will be an attempt to have college football this year. Let me couch that statement, in that form, because it's too much of a revenue driver. I did an interview a few days ago with a gentleman about college football, and basically the statement I took away was it would be a catastrophic impact if you did not have college football. When you think about the revenue that it produces and all of the sports that gain some financial benefit at the college level from college football. I mean, we're already starting to see some universities cut back on programs.
Right.
I think it could be, an even bigger concern if we don't have it. The big question is going to be the number of cases of COVID. And we've already seen Clemson and Texas and some of these other schools where they've gone back into training, and you have numbers of cases. Now, that being said, it's been talked about that seemingly doctors, I think, are doing a better job of being able to handle COVID and treat it. And so is that turnaround time not as big a concern as we move through July and we move through August? If it's not as big a concern, then yeah, we can have college football. Are we going to have college football with 105,000 people at the big house? No, we're not. We're not going to have that. Are we going to have it with 90 whatever thousand it is in Tuscaloosa? No, it's not going to happen. I've heard that their University of Texas, I think it was talking about a plan of maybe 25%. Well, okay, if people can be safe and you can get 25% of your attendance in there, then okay. But I'm not a believer yet in that, and you're going to have to prove it to show me the truth.
Besides college football, Dan, what other sports and how are going to be? Obviously, all sports are being impacted. Everyone involved in sports is being impacted.
Yeah.
But are there some other sports from people you've talked to in your show that are going to be hit harder financially than others, or are we just seeing across the board kind of equal hits?
I think you're seeing it across the board, but at differing levels. Because remember, the budgets of a football team are going to be much different than the budget of the soccer team or the baseball team. We're already seeing it in terms of numbers of scholarships that some of these lower level teams have that are being pared back. So, you may see coaching staffs that have normally a head coach and 2 or 3 assistants have to pare back one. You may see more travel by bus than by plane if the size of the team allows it. There's so many different dynamics. There's going to be more of a want to really crunch the numbers on budgets of college teams this year than ever before because of the lack of revenue that's going to come in. And look, hey, if we get to a point right now and we're in the same boat with college basketball coming around, can you imagine not having another college, an NCAA March Madness? The impact that's going to have? Right.
As a college basketball fan.
Exactly. And if we don't have that next spring, it really is going to be catastrophic.
Dan Loney, host of Wharton Business Daily on Sirius XM Channel 132 and longtime professional baseball broadcaster. All right, Dan, I want to leave it on this note because you are a business expert and sports expert. And we've heard a lot from fans, at least I have, listening to the radio, on the internet, Twitter. Sometimes that's not always a great general overgeneralization perhaps, but there are some fans that are saying, they're done with sports. They're not coming back because of the baseball stuff, less so for the other sports. But it is hard when you're a business. You want your product to stay out in front of people. And obviously people have found other things to do, forced to find other things to do. We have had such a sports appetite in our country for so long, and particularly within the last decade or so with so many different venues and television, media, et cetera. Do you think that people are going to flock back to sports and spend money in the way they did? Or do you think that this forced absence has caused them to find alternatives that is going to take revenue from sports in general?
Well, I think the big factor will be how the economy reacts in general. If the economy reacts well and we see, a continued bounce back, in the business side, we talk about whether or not it's going to be a V curve or a swoosh or, whatever that economic recovery is going to be. If we see something that continues to be strong through 2020 and into 2021, then I think from a financial perspective, people will come back. If you have the money, you're willing to spend it.
Right.
I think we always will want our sports. I mean, look, I'm a baseball guy. As soon as Major League Baseball starts, I'm going to be watching it in my house, or I'm going to be going out to the local bar to have a cold beverage and watch a baseball game.
Right.
But the economy in general is going to play a big role in terms of how much people will come back. And look, you already had concerns in some sports about the rising cost of tickets, of souvenirs, of food, of parking in a lot of different venues, baseball, football, etc. I think this it gives people pause to really think about how they are going to spend their dollars moving forward.
Dan Loney joining us here on Bracy Sports Media. And you can hear Dan's expertise from this interview. You definitely want to check him out every morning at 10 a.m. on Wharton Business Daily on Sirius XM Channel 132. There's a ton about business and a ton about sports. Dan, I can't thank you enough for joining us here on Bracy Sports Media.
Aaron, nice to talk to somebody who has the same haircut as I do. Always good to talk to you. Glad to see you're doing well.
Thanks so much, Dan. And thanks for joining us, everyone. Please be sure to download our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Bracy Sports Media. And have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.